Hey there, so this is Wendy Jackson. Really quickly before you listen to the next episode, I have great news for you. So, you know that you can get the books Empowerment for You and the Empower to Empower You workbook. You can get them on Amazon. Just search for Be Wendy Bob, B-O-B-B. That's my maiden name. Or you can just get them through my website, Against All Odds PCS.com. Against All Odds PCS.com. That's P as in Paul, C as in Charlie, S as in September. Recently, I have a new journal. I'm so excited, y'all. This journal offers a little bit more structure. It's very simple. It's for you, all of you, anybody who's listening. It's for you. And we are in the pre-launch phase, and you can go on bewendyjackson.com to order your journal today. Bewendyjackson.com. Order the Gratitude Journal. Check it out. You're going to see exactly what I mean by that. Listen, I'm so grateful for you supporting me. There's lots of things going on, but I just wanted to share that new excitement, that new exciting feature for your offering with you, and continue to listen to the show. Listen, if you have any questions about travel, how you can travel better for less, I'm excited. We're part of an amazing travel club where we get to save 30 to 80%. And you're going to hear that in the video after the episode. Just connect with me to learn more, and we'll talk soon. Love you so much, and have a great week on purpose. Enjoy the show. Well, hello, everyone. This is your lovely host of the Empower to Empower You podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Empower to Empower You podcast is about all things Jesus Christ, mental health, anything to help you become the better version of yourself. I love that each episode is filled with information, inspiration, and insight to help you live in freedom, to help you think differently, to help you feel encouraged and be equipped and also be empowered. I want to say this just because I serve as a licensed clinical social worker. The podcast should not substitute for counseling. Neither does the episode substitute for salvation. So my message is always, definitely if you need a therapist, make sure you are seeking that. If you need, obviously, we all need Jesus. So I pray that by the end of every episode, that we just evaluate where are we? Have we accepted Christ? Where are we with the hope that we have that is in Christ? If something were to happen, how confident are we about is heaven our destination? How sure are we about our eternity? All the things that we need to be talking about. So if you've been rocking with me since January 2020, I really want to thank you for your support. Those of you who have rated and reviewed the podcast, as well as shared with somebody, thank you so much. For those of you who just stumbled upon the episode of the podcast today, welcome, welcome, welcome. I believe that you're going to have a stumbled upon blessing. So I've been having some amazing hosts, and today I get to have Melissa with us. Her name is Melissa Armstrong. She is a trauma-informed, she serves as a trauma-informed functional medicine coach. She gets to be a wife and a mom to two young boys. She's been a nurse since 2010. And even she also has her own experience of trauma in her childhood and young adult life. And the Lord led her to just answers to all of the questions that she had that she was not getting answered. And I'm really, really glad to have Melissa here today. The topic for today, I want y'all to put on your seatbelts, get your tea, your water, your coffee, because the topic for today is Mom Told Me God Was Not Real. Wow. Hi, Melissa. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to chat with you today.
Me too, me too. So let's get into it. Tell us, why are you passionate to share this story today?
I God has been telling me to share my testimony.
Yeah.
And really, I am so, um, I just trust his plan.
Hmm.
And I want to share my testimony in hopes that it could help somebody.
I know that it will. So in this season, what is the most life-giving thing for you at this time?
Oh, I was really contemplating what do I think that is most life-giving. I think it's there's so many things. It's hard to choose just one. And it's like kind of multifaceted, but really my relationship with the Lord
Mm,
is first and foremost, and that's what's guiding everything that I'm doing every day. And like my work that comes from listening to his direction, and my family and pouring into my friends and family and relationships with people. It's
mm.
all of that, and it all comes from the Lord.
I love that. I love that. It's so having relationships take work. Nurturing the relationships is so important. And when people have experienced, this is not a question that I had prepared for you, but just that's how my mind goes. But when we think about the impact of trauma on being able to establish meaningful relationships, that in itself is a level of work. And I'm just curious, how has that, before we get into your story, like what was that journey like for you to be able to see yourself as worthy of receiving the relationship and as worthy as being in the relationship?
Such a good question. It's an ongoing journey. I mean, I don't think that I've reached a place where I'm like, I feel 100% great and worthy all the time. I just keep it's an ongoing thing that I just have to keep reminding myself of, and reminding myself of who Christ says I am, right?
Yes, yes,
And I am worthy because he says I am. And
absolutely.
um I think if you would have asked me 20 years ago, it was a very different answer 20 years ago. It's been a work. It's been
Yeah,
work.
definitely, definitely. So who do you intend to reach by your story today?
Gosh, I just hope that it reaches really anybody. I hope that anybody hears my story and takes away from it a story of hope, because my experience, my childhood, and the things that I've been through is very it's a lot. And
Yeah.
most often people respond to me by saying, gosh, I'm so sorry for everything that you've been through. And I just always want to say, like, I'm not sorry.
Mm,
I wish that I could go relive all of it? Of course not. But I don't regret, and I'm not sorry about anything that I've been through, and anything that I've experienced, because I know that it has led me to this exact moment in my life where I feel so aligned, so connected to my friends and my family and my creator and my work, and just empowering other people to live their life to the fullest and heal from things that have happened to them, heal their mind, body, and spirit. And that's what I want people to, anybody who needs it, I want them to take the story that this is a story of hope.
I love that. I love that. How would you, as we get into, before we talk about what are little T's and big T trauma, for people that may be listening, that may not be, I mean, people hear the word trauma often, but there are people that may not know, and I don't want to assume that people know what we're talking about, right? So, how
Totally.
do you define trauma, and then let's talk about explaining what are little T trauma and then big T trauma.
Yeah, so trauma is really anything that causes stress within your body, mind, or spirit. And the difference between big T's and little T's is really um to each person. So like their big T traumas, like having a parent die, being in a war zone, physical abuse, sexual abuse, those kinds of things. Those are like classic big T traumas. Little T traumas are having a boyfriend break up with you, being bullied in school, failing a class, though.
Mhm.
And those all of those things affect people differently, and there's so many different um considerations that that interact with those traumas and the experience that we feel from those traumas that create like disruption in the body and the mind and the spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, what do you want to share today about what you experienced? And I want to kind of graduate to the point of even the experience of being told by your mom that God was not real and the impact of that. So what would you like to share about the traumatic experiences that you experienced, that you had?
Yeah, so my story is one that, like I said, that's pretty intense. There was a lot of trauma in my young childhood. My parents were both addicts. My dad was very physically abusive to my mom and my brother. My mom, as a result, was very verbally abusive to me, particularly. And I'm one of four kids. My parents were divorced finally when I was about 6, and my mom really wanted to get clean. My dad never did. He's deceased now. And when I was, with a single mom with four kids, we were very poor. One of my sisters has Down syndrome. There was a lot. She was dealing with a lot. She had been very traumatized in her childhood and in her relationship with my dad and my brother's dad. And she was very emotionally unavailable when she was around. She was very verbally abusive. And other things happened in my young childhood. I was molested at one point, and then when I was 15, I was present at a school shooting. And then when I was 18, my brother, who was 5 years older than me, was killed in a terrible accident right in front of me.
Wow.
And it was absolutely mind blowing. My whole world crumbled. I had already felt such anxiety and panic and depression and felt like I didn't belong and nobody loved me and all of these things. And then when he died, my mom had really kind of told us as we were growing up, and I think this was as a result of her own trauma and her own experiences, that God was not real, and we did not go to church, we did not read the Bible, and she was very she would look for opportunities to show us that God was not real. And when my brother died, that was kind of, a pivotal moment where she was like, see, if God was real, your brother would still be here. My brother, he was 5 years older than me. I was 18. He was 23. He had 3 kids at 23 years old. So her reaction was like, if God was real, he would not have taken your brother away from his babies. And all the while, it's just so interesting. God pursued me. I remember being very, very young, like 3, 4 years old. And I remember watching my parents fight. I remember watching my dad beat up my mom. And while I didn't feel safe necessarily, like I often wondered if my mom would die, even though I didn't really know exactly what that meant. I knew that it was bad and unhealthy with, the relationship and the environment, but I always felt this sense of protection.
Mm.
And all the way through my young childhood, and even when my brother died, I just remember being like, that can't be true. That can't be true, because there's too much. He pursued me 100%, and he showed me all the time that he is real. And yeah, that was
Wow.
it.
Think about, I mean, when I say this, tell me what reactions come up. I did not feel safe, but I felt protected. What
Yeah,
a
I just
powerful,
yeah.
powerful experience. Like there was nothing in the room, in the home that made me feel physically safe and emotionally safe, but yet I knew I was protected. The
Yeah,
assurance that,
I always felt like this kind of like shroud or covering, or like when they would fight, I have two younger sisters. I would just kind of like gather them and like go into our bedroom and shut the door and we would play while my parents would fight. And I just remember feeling like that, like your dad just like reaching his arms over you and just like enveloping you in a just giant big hug. It was incredible. I
That's
didn't
a
know it at the time
oh,
consciously. I
yeah.
didn't know what that was, but thinking back, that's what it was.
Mm. So by the time mom was saying to you that God is not real, did you believe that message? Did you believe
Yeah.
what she was saying? You did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, I always questioned it.
Yeah.
I always questioned, is she right? But like she was my mom. I
Hmm.
I believed her because she was the only parent that I had. My
Yeah.
dad was not around. And I thought my mom was knew everything like children do, you know.
Yeah. If you think about
Um
mom. Yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
really I did. There was a piece of me that believed her, but I think there was always kind of this little thing that was like, but is that true?
Mm-hmm. And and I could imagine when you saw your brother get killed in front of you, the enemy used that to confirm what mom had been telling you, to confirm the lie.
It's interesting. I think it was actually kind of the opposite. It was
Oh,
really, yeah, it was really at that point where I mean, definitely in the immediate months following that, like I was in a deep, deep, dark depression after that. And because of everything that I had been through and um, I had panic. The panic was so incredible that I couldn't sleep for days on end sometimes. And at that time I decided to go into nursing. I decided I wanted to be a nurse and started pursuing that. But really, as I started realizing where how unhealthy that I was and how this trauma was affecting me and how um, I was so unwell and I was seeking answers, like God really showed himself to me. And then I really recognized within just a few short years after my brother's death that that there was meaning in that for me. And I think the meaning was for me to be exactly where I am right now, which is
wow.
helping people. And like that's why I say I'm not sorry about all the trauma, because like I had to go through all of that. It was part of my journey. And I
Wow.
think it was part of me breaking the cycle in my family. And um, my mom has really, she hasn't come to know the Lord, but I'm still praying for that every day. But yeah, I think it was really just God pursued me so hard, harder than than the enemy. And I really knew after that that there was something more. There had to be.
That's powerful. What would, if I were to ask you, or yeah, if I were to ask you, what is the thing that, if there was something that you would have wanted to say to your mom, to go back then and say to your mom, or even what would you say to her that you haven't said or you've always wanted to say?
Mm,
What would that be?
gosh, that is such a good question. There's so much that I would want to say to her. And we, we've had a very strained relationship, but we spent many years completely not talking. And
Yeah.
but we do talk now, and it's turning into something so beautiful.
Mhm.
um
Good.
I think what I would say to her is my favorite verse in the Bible, and goes kind of just what I was saying, is Romans 8:28. God works all things for our good. And I feel
Mm.
like I wish that she could have seen that back then, or even that she could, I think she's kind of starting to see it now.
Yeah.
um I would tell her that, and just to trust that she's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's so powerful. And I would imagine she needs to be reassured. Do you think, well, let me ask this. Do you think she still carries on the guilt of what she did or and what she experienced, the guilt and shame? Is she kind of stuck in that place of that?
She's definitely still carrying some of it, but she has healed so much.
Mhm.
And I think our period of like separation, we spent many years not communicating at all, completely estranged from each other. So I think during that time, she did a lot of healing. And I have to give her credit that she really has looked introspectively and really evaluated her, like what she did as far as being a parent, but that also she gives herself as an adult woman. Now she's able to kind of love her child self and almost empathize with her child self, and realize that she was really a function of her environment. The trauma and abuse and addiction goes back in my both sides of my family, actually, but particularly in my mom's side of the family. It goes back at least 5 generations,
Wow.
with just intense, deep, dark addiction and physical, emotional, sexual abuse in the whole family back 5 generations. So um, she has healed quite a bit, and I think she's finally come to a place. And I think that it's so beautiful that it's come kind of full circle, because we've had conversations even just recently, like 2 weeks ago we talked on the phone for a period of time, and it was a really cathartic conversation for us, because I told her for the first time ever, I realized how much I actually verbalized, because I had understood all of a sudden how much strength that it took for her to leave my dad. My dad did not leave on his own accord. He did not just like, he wasn't addicted and just decided to leave. My mom left him.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I always thought, I literally asked my mom before, why were we not good enough? And I didn't realize until about 2 weeks ago that we were good enough.
Wow.
We were the reason why she left. She couldn't heal everything. She
Mm.
couldn't heal her body, but she left my dad. And when I asked her why 2 weeks ago, she said, I knew that if I didn't leave your dad and if I didn't get clean, that I was going to lose you kids. And that
Mm.
wasn't an option for me. I have chills just now thinking about it. And I
Wow.
asked her, how did you know that, Mom? And she said, I don't know. I just knew in my heart, in my soul, I just knew what I had to do. And I said, divine intervention. And she said, absolutely. And she
Wow.
does, and she's not a believer yet. But
Yeah. When she hears this podcast, I am in agreement with you that you're going to allow her to hear this podcast. And Mama, you're going to hear me say that Jesus loves you and he wants a relationship with you.
amen.
And
Amen.
I pray that she's gonna say, okay, baby, I'm ready to receive Jesus Christ. Can you pray with me to receive him? Like, I'm in agreement with you that she is saved in listening to this episode right here. Because even in this episode, we're honoring, we get to honor her.
Yeah.
We get to honor her. And I love, even as an adult, we're talking about years from since you were a child. Isn't it amazing that your story, God's story, through your story is still unraveling, that you would discover that 2 weeks ago? That's something that you believed all this time. You were now confronted with the truth, and to be able to commend her for her courage of, wow, that must have taken a lot of strength for you to leave, because that is a very hard
Yeah.
decision for a lot of
Yeah.
women.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Poor, like she chose to be a poor single mom of 4 children with a disabled daughter this is like 1990. I'll be 40 next year. So it was like 1990 when she like 100% on her own with nobody to lean on. And she chose that for herself because she knew that it was what was best for us kids, to get us kids out of that environment. It's just incredible. And there's no other explanation than
Wow.
God. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I almost broke down I almost allowed myself to cry with just not in pity, but just in gratitude for that
Beauty. Yeah.
beauty of the story.
Yeah.
So, how did you come to believe that God is real? and accept Jesus Christ?
Yeah, it was really his pursuit of me. And it was a slow progression
Yeah.
up to it was 2015. I guess it was 2016 actually, excuse me. It was 2016 where had I had an injury at work, and I met somebody serendipitously, as God does, who is a believer. And she is one of my nearest, dearest friends. Lisa is her name. And I just adore her. And she really helped me put everything that I had been feeling into words and really like understand um, what I had felt, and without any judgment. I had, at this time I was in my early 30s, and felt very I had just had my first child, and I felt very intimidated by the idea of accepting Jesus Christ. Like, I've never read the Bible, I've never been to church. Like, how do I just I don't at that time I didn't even have a friend who had read the Bible. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So what was the process? What did she do,
Yeah.
Melissa?
Oh, gosh, I wish I could remember exactly. It was so incredible. She has a son who has the same name as my son, and we had very similar stories in the previous year to that. Like, a couple things had happened to us where we had very similar stories. We were both injured. We had both fallen and hurt our hips. This makes us sound like we're like 80, but we were not. We had both had these injuries, and and it was so divine the way it ended up, like me being in that particular location, because I was a nurse, so I was in the hospital, and like it was very unusual to be moved to a different location, like I was, into like a totally different clinic in a totally different town, to
Mhm,
be given work that was accommodating. It was
mhm.
just so, like, it was so serendipitous the way it happened. Like, there's no other explanation, and I can't even recall really
You said,
exactly what she's. I think she probably just shared something in her genuine nice way, and like was she probably just said something about God. And I think I asked her, like, oh, do you believe in God? And she's like, yeah. And then she told me, and I was like,
wow,
like, this
wow.
is it.
Thank God for Lisa. Wow.
Yeah.
What was it? I have to ask you this. What was it like to go to church for the first time, read the Bible for the first time? What was that like for you in your 30s? This was in your 30s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, super intimidating. Yeah, super intimidating, but it just felt so right. And
Wow.
it just felt so good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and now it's like I can't imagine, I almost can't even remember life without it. Um,
Wow.
like going to church I mean, we go to church multiple times. We're very involved in the church, so we're there multiple times a week. But like my kids are actually there right now, but my kids and my husband. But yeah, it just felt so right, and like I can't imagine not having that.
Wow. What would you say to somebody that I just have so many questions. Number one, what would you say to somebody that it is struggling with trauma or a difficult parenting trauma, or just has lived their lives believing lies from the enemy? What would you say to that person?
I would say the thing that I always tell everybody is, I don't care what the diagnosis is. I don't care what your story is. I don't care where you came from. Healing is always possible. I don't believe that there are things that are incurable or that cannot be overcome. And I think there's so much in, like, medicine that completely negates the mind body connection and the supernatural realm that is so impactful in our health that like they're taught that like, oh, you have X, Y, and Z diagnosis. Here's the pill. You're going to be on this for the rest of your life. I just don't believe it. I think it's lies from the devil. It's not true. Healing is always possible.
Absolutely. I so agree this. I feel like we need another podcast.
Let's
I
do
feel like we
it.
need another podcast on just functional medicine. I really want to have you back because obviously, I was about to, well, I will ask you this. I will ask you why and how, why did you choose functional, not did you choose, how did you land in functional medicine? But I feel like this will require a part two for sure, because I'm noticing the time. Um, but yeah, I'm just curious, how did you end up in functional medicine? You went to school to be a nurse.
Correct.
How did you land in functional? That's a very specific area and assignment. How did
Yeah.
you end
Yeah, it was a long process. So I've been a nurse since 2010. So I started my career as a traditional nurse in a pediatric ICU in a level 1 trauma children's hospital. And I recognized almost immediately that the care that we provide in hospitals and clinics and stuff is like, thank God for modern medicine. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Thank God for modern medicine. Thank God for ICUs and ORs and ERs, but there was always something missing. I always felt like we were just not actually getting to the real cause of the issue, and we were not truly helping people
Mhm.
in the way that I thought like would be most impactful. While I was a new grad nurse, I was simultaneously dealing with my own health issues as a result of all the trauma that I had been through that I had not fully healed. And my experience as a patient was very similar to that. I would go to the doctor and they would say, "Oh, you're depressed. Oh, you have IBS. Oh, you have this." I had horrible gastrointestinal issues. I had like IBS symptoms. I had rashes all over my body. I had insomnia. Like, I was not on drugs. I was just not able to sleep like for days. I would sleep like an hour. It was horrible. I had panic. I was gaining weight. I felt terrible. And they would give me steroids, antidepressants, sleeping pills, this, that, and the other thing. And I had a doctor when I was like 22 tell me I was going to be on antidepressants for the rest of my life. And I thought, like, this can't be possible. And so I started seeking answers. And my now husband, he was my boyfriend at the time. We've been together for 22 years. He suggested meditation, and I started meditating and realized I could control my nervous system. And meditation, sort of before I was even a believer, really turned into prayer. And I was connecting with God before I ever met Lisa. And that is just his pursuit of me. It's so beautiful. And that process kind of evolved. And eventually I really was like, I can't do this in this traditional medical model. We're not helping people. We're just giving people band-aids. I don't believe in just lifelong antidepressants. I think, why are you depressed? Let's get you out of the depression so you can get off of the pills. And yeah, so the difference between traditional medicine and functional medicine, traditional medicine's always asking, what diagnosis do you have? What pill can we give you to fix it? Or procedure can we do to fix it? Functional medicine is always asking, why?
Mm,
Why do you have that symptom?
mm,
Why is your body telling us where is the imbalance, and
mhm.
how can we restore that balance so you can fix the symptom?
I love it. I'm so thankful that you're doing that. That's like I said, we definitely need to have a part two.
Let's do it.
Love to have a part two, for sure. All right, let's try to land this plane and wrap this up. Talk about your resources, how any resources, books, how people can connect with you, find you on social media. Take a moment to do that.
Yeah, so my website is holistichealthbymelissa.com. There's a couple free opportunities there. I have a 5 tips to start your meditation practice. I very much believe in somatic experiencing, meditation, tapping, prayer, journaling, those kinds of things to help release the emotions. Emotion is energy in motion. If you leave it in your body, it's stored in there. It's going to create problems. So we need to get it out. We need to process it. I love meditation and tapping. Those are 2 of my biggest things I use with my one-on-one clients all the time. So 5 steps to start your meditation practice. I also have a nervous system assessment quiz that you can take to see if your nervous system is regulated or dysregulated. Because if you're in a dysregulated nervous system state where you're always in that fight or flight, you're going to get stuck there. You're not going to be able to think properly. You're not going to be able to digest your food properly. You're not going to sleep properly. And you're not going to be able to think, and you're not going to be able to heal. So just looking at your nervous system and where you fall on that scale. So that's my website, all social media platforms. I'm Holistic Health by Melissa. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook mostly. Holistic Health LLC is my business name. And yeah, Holistic Health by Melissa.
Awesome, awesome. And people can get any books, resources on your website, one place. Great,
Yep.
great,
And you can apply to work with me there too.
great. Melissa, this has been such an amazing, enriching conversation with you. I'm so thankful you're sharing your story with the world. I'm so thankful that you get to do the work that you do,
Yeah.
to help people experience health and healing through functional medicine. I cannot wait to have to talk about to have a part 2 conversation with you on that.
Yeah.
Um, thank you so much. Is there any final thing that I didn't ask you that's just you're burning to share or anything like that?
I always like to leave it to remind people that healing is possible. Don't believe the lies. I promise you, healing is possible. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but healing is possible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, y'all, I just really want you to connect. I'm really encouraging you to connect with Melissa. Listen, if maybe you haven't been through a little T or a big T, but everybody has a story. And so this is a really amazing podcast episode to share with a friend, share with somebody who has gone through, share with somebody who is going through, share with anybody who's gone through mommy issues or family issues or addiction or anything like that. And then also there are a lot of people who are dealing with medical things. So definitely share this, but stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to talk about functional medicine versus traditional medicine. I cannot wait to have that conversation with Melissa. Listen, this is B. Wendy Jackson. I know that you're going to connect with Melissa. Hey, apply to work with her. And I'll put her information in the show notes. I will be back next time with another empowering episode. Have a wonderful week on purpose. Hello. Did you know a vacation is great for your overall wellness? Some signs that you need a break are changes in eating habits, cynicism about work, difficulty concentrating, getting sick more frequently, lack of motivation, low mood, frustration, and many more. Well, listen, I have a secret to tell you. My husband and I are part of an amazing travel club which will help you travel more, travel better, and travel for less. I am so excited to be a part of this travel club because at my fingertips, I can just pick a world tour or a getaway. I can save between 30% and 80% on hotels, car rentals, entertainment, amusement parks, activities, dining, shopping, oh man, cruises, and so much more. And allow our son to experience the world in a new way. The best part about this, it is not a timeshare. And trust me, we have sat through hours of timeshare presentation only to find out the amount of investments that the timeshare want you to commit to. Well, to learn more about this, listen, just head on over to my website, againstallodds.pcs.com, and go to resources and click on Travel with B. Wendy. You can also learn more about this. You can also message me, and I would love to share this with you. You need a vacation. Sometimes you just need to get away. This is all part of taking care of your mental health, taking care of getaway, a breakaway, of just so that you don't break down, right, or fall apart. Sometimes you have to come apart so you don't really fall apart, right? So this is me, Wendy Jackson. Just wanted to share this quick infomercial with you. Listen, connect with us today. Against All Odds, PCS.com. Click on resources, and where it says need to get away, click on travel with me, Wendy. All right, or you can email me hello at againstallodds.pcs.com, or you could even message me on Instagram at empowered2serve, the number 2. There's so many ways to get in touch with me. I look forward to hearing from you.